But I'm so happy to have him back on right now to kick off the new year. He's a good friend of mine and really great guy to talk to. And we're going to be discussing not only his new media ventures, because he's the owner of the Activist Post now, but I want to talk about just things that are going on out there in the news and just yeah, I want to talk about conspiracy theory as a coined phrase, as a conspiracy in and of itself, because that's exactly what it was. It was something that was designed by intelligence agencies to add a little bit of a self-censoring chill effect on Americans and their willingness to exercise certain civil rights, especially in speech. But tonight, it's going to be a little bit of whatever we can with Charlie. And then in the second half, I've got some things that we can read through. And also, I'd love to take some of your calls. Be a little bit of an earlier night tonight because there's no book club afterwards. It was fun. Really was fun last night. I think after tonight's show, I might do a little on Twitch too. But I'll let you know what's going on with that, and also the after hours, which has been really rocking and rolling. All right, okay. So that's what I have. That's what I have here for January 7th, 2025. And I hope everybody out there is in good health. I'm feeling fantastic. We have Cultivate Elevate. Matt from Cultivate Elevate is on with us tomorrow night, and then a few other things coming up. And I have to update the calendar on the website soon. Some really good bookings and some great topics are coming up. One thing I'd like to follow up from last night. Oh, well, what's the big reason why I'm here tonight? Because there's nothing going on after the show like book club. Well, it's because it is so cold. And this is another reason why I wanted to make sure that I had a perfectly duplicate setup over here at home, especially for the winter months. It is brick. It is brick outside, okay? And with the wind chill, I don't know, might be close to single digits. I said, to hell with that. I don't even want to walk from the car to the building and from the building to the car and then forget about the lava lamps. I would have to bring in blow torches to get the lava lamps at the studio to start flowing tonight. So to hell with it. I'll to hell with it. I'll wait a couple of days when it's a balmy 27 and I'll go back then. For tonight, I'm just going to chill out here and we'll do this, and that's what we have going on. Dangerous and expansive cold patterns, according to AccuWeather, jolting the central and eastern half of the United States. Bitterly cold air will continue to plague the central and eastern states over the course of the upcoming week, raising concerns for heating demands and frozen puppies. Oh, I'm sorry, pipes. Frozen pipes. Well, we don't want the puppies to be frozen either. Bring them inside, everybody. AccuWeather forecasters warn that waves of Arctic air spilling into the plains and east will continue to expand southward across the nation, yielding notably colder and colder still conditions as far south as the southeast coast throughout this week and into the weekend. So, yeah, there's a lot of you guys and gals who have been, you've had nice little Parmesan cheese fun with the snow already. You know, last night somebody mentioned something about there being a snowball fight in Washington, D.C., and I went to go check it out, and I actually had a couple of people send it to me, and wouldn't you know it, they weren't lying. January 6th, 2025, from the front lines of a pitched battle in Washington, D.C. There's a snowball fight.
We're getting pelted.
That would have been fun.
So we're on the front.
I hope I get to throw some snowballs this year.
Snowball war with DC.
Good for them. Good for them on certification day. I guess that's like one of those, those reenactments, those war reenactments. Like when you go to White Plains, you see a bunch of guys that you know from the, the local bagel shop every morning, dressing up like Revolutionary War soldiers and playing dead. That's the way it goes. Anyway, that was far more violent than January 6, 2021. I hope everybody got out of that all right. Now, speaking of other violent things, or maybe other things that are going wrong with America, this one is a little disturbing. A little disturbing, but I can see how it'd be true. From the New York Post, headline, half of Americans carry spare underwear for emergencies. The way that we eat, I know exactly why. Now, I've had a couple of accidents in my time, or you just had to leave some things behind. We won't go into those now. But the fact that 70%, wait. Nearly half, let's see the sample size here. Always carry a spare. That's a sentiment shared by nearly half of Americans who are carrying backup underwear with them just in case something unexpected happens. The poll of 2,000 U.S. adults, equally split by gender, revealed that 70% of those who carry spares have had their backup underwear come to their rescue. Scenarios respondent said that they had a need for backup underwear include being likely to have an accident, 39%, knowing that they'll need to change their clothes at some point during the day, 37%, or being accident prone and likely to spill something on themselves, 18%. Like what? You just spill what, gravy inside of your pants? I don't know about that, unless you're just hanging out in your underwear. But not needing to change during the day, I understand that, especially if you're going to working out during the summer months, the high humidity months. You got to do that. I do that. You know, I can see how this would be the case. The first thing that your mind goes to is everybody shitting their pants. But just thinking about how I maintain myself in the summer, I can see this being just the wanting to change. I feel like I change a couple times a day in the summer, especially when I know I'm done working out, in between showers or rinse offs. The difference between a shower and a rinse off, I'm sure you know. All right, so I don't know if you guys and gals, do you carry? If this is the case, out of 2,000. 70% of those who carry the spare, up to, so nearly half, so nearly 1,000 out of 2,000. So that means that there are at least a few of you who are watching right now who probably are wearing their spare today. They're probably wearing the spare. I don't know. But I'd love to hear from you later on in the second half of the show. Ed from Nevada. That is who I'm shouting out right now. I had a couple of people actually go into the Quite Frankly newsletter. They went to Vintage Frankly. They found those really awesome episodes from last January on this show, one of them being the Memories from the Mall episode. And I said, if you can find me the awesome caller that I begged to get in touch with the show who never showed up again, please go do so. And two of you got back to me and said, Frank, I know exactly what you're talking about. I went and I confirmed it. His name is Ed. Ed from Nevada. The Mall Memory Show. Ed, if you're still watching, I pray that you are. Get in touch with the show. Quite Frankly Podcast at gmail.com. Quite Frankly Podcast at gmail.com. If you don't have a computer, then please go to anybody that you know who does and have them write you an email to me. From you to me. We'll love to have you on the show. It's been way too long. All right, that's it. Let's get this one started off because I want to bring Charlie Robinson on and just have a good time, shall we? Okay. Take care, everybody. Let's see if this intro works. Please.
Have you any idea how successful censorship is on TV? Don't know the answer? Successful, isn't it?
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's
How he's had a change of mind on freedom of speech. Good God. I'm going to read that with Charlie when he comes on. But in the meantime, let's take a listen to this because it really is something else. I'm so excited about this on behalf of my friend Charlie. All of our friends. This is from the Activist Post. from the activist post not too long ago. So Charlie got in touch with me and said, "Hey man, I wanted to let you know I'm could be buying the activist post." What? I said, I can't wait to know all about this, what it takes to procure a media company, especially one that I've known for for a long, long time. Here's what they said on the activist post on the About Us Now, right there, written by the man himself, Charlie Robinson, editor. Activist Post has been providing our exceptionally smart audience with outstanding articles by fearless journalists from all over the world since 2010. That sounds about right. Proudly labeled as one of the 200 websites identified as problematic in 2016 by the Foreign Policy Research Institute, along with Zero Hedge, the Free Thought Project, and WikiLeaks. After almost 15 years, the founders sought to make sure that both Activist Post and Natural Blaze would continue republishing content and be in good hands moving forward. Macro Productions was approached and purchased both sides in an all Bitcoin transaction. I did not know that about this. Beginning operations on January 1st, 2025, the company also produces Macroaggression's Union of the Unwanted and Day Zero podcasts and published the books The Octopus of Global Control, The Controlled Demolition of the American Empire, and Hypocrisy. I love these books by our good friend Charlie, who's here tonight. I'm bringing him on a little bit early because why the hell wait? How the hell you doing, Charlie?
Fantastic. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm doing really great. And it's great to have you on here. I'm feeling good. No more sinus infection. And, we're just two bald guys hanging out on a cold night.
Yeah, absolutely. It's snowing here in Denver, so if it makes you feel any better.
I was just going to say, it's Denver. That's what it's supposed to happen. So you got to tell me before we get into everything else, what's it like? What's the acquisition process like? Well, it's one thing to go out there and buy a car. It's another thing to buy even a URL, but this is well, as soon as you said it, my ears perked up as I've read articles from the Activist Post for at least as long as this show, Quite Frankly, was born as its own independent entity from the other show that we were doing in 2006. In 2010. So that was around the time that I really started building up my daily sources that I went to. Activist Post was definitely one of them, but that's really interesting to say I own a paper.
Yeah, well, I feel the same way about it. I've been reading them for years and had no sort of idea that this would ever be a possibility. I was approached in July by the owners. I've known them for a while. I've known one of the owners for a while. They've republished my articles. They've been fantastic to me. I like their work. I like what they talk about. It works for me. And they had made a decision that they had gone 15 years with this, and it was time for them to do something else. And they asked if I would be interested in buying it, which I said no immediately because it was overwhelming, and thought of it was just like you said, where do you even start? But I took about 2 days and thought about it, and then I got back to him and I said, I will buy it, actually. As a matter of fact, this is the next iteration of what I'm doing. It started with books, it moved into podcasts, and now we're in the news business. So I thought it would be a good fit. I signed the contract to buy it, closed my computer, put it in my bag, walked out the door, and got on an airplane to fly out to Las Vegas for what I did not know was going to turn out to be 98 days spent with my mother as she slowly died from stage 4 pancreatic cancer. So I had 3 months of trying to do anything else other than process my current situation with my mom. And the idea of Activist Post really kept me going for a while. It really sort of fueled me, to help me to kind of compartmentalize the trauma that I was going through and that watching my mom, and I was able to say, okay, I need to go into business mode for a little bit here, and let's think about this. And if I were, how would I redo this? And we had made just a decision from the beginning. I made a decision that the website was 15 years old. It was running off of a sort of an outdated WordPress theme. And I said, it might be a good time to refresh it, to change the layout a little bit, not change the content really. I mean, really, it's going to continue to do what it's been doing, expand out a little bit. But I wanted to make sure we were secure first and foremost, and make sure that the website would run really well on mobile. And both of those things, the existing, the previous website did not do, and the current one does. So we really wanted to make sure that if we're going to do this from the beginning, let's do it right. Let's make sure that we button up the things that, security components of it. Let's make sure it runs on your phone really well, because let's be honest, that's where most people are getting their news. And it does. And we can't make an app for it, because then you fall into the centralization that you wind up in the App Store or the Google Store, and they can turn you off real quick, which is what they did with Zero Hedge.
Yeah.
So we said, no, we're not going to do an app. You're just going to have to bookmark it on your phone. I hope you will. And I think everybody, so that's kind of where it started. And then and then just coincidentally, Frank, right when this was going down, I get approached by Whitney Webb, Derek Bros, and Ryan Christian about becoming a part of this group that they're forming called the Independent Media Alliance. And I said, yes, absolutely. And one of the things that they mentioned when they were talking about the future of this group was they said, we really need to get a good, like almost like a news website, kind of like a Zero Hedge.
Hmm.
Whitney specifically said Zero Hedge. I was like, I couldn't really talk about it. And I was like,
Yeah, I was gonna say, when were you able to start, like, contractually able to start talking about it? Because I mean, you mentioned it to me a little bit before the new year hit, and that was really exciting. But what you're saying right now, and you and I mean, we did book club together in June, and I knew I was right there with you all along the way with what everything was going on with your mother, and so I know what kind of a summer and a fall you had. But not a peep, yeah, not a peep out of you about this until just around Christmas. So
it
when
wasn't even so much contractual as it was like, I don't want to say superstition, but just I I don't want to talk about it until it's done. It's
right,
the same policy I had with my first book. I didn't want to tell anyone, because I just wanted to make sure it was finished. And then when it was finished, I'd tell people about it. And that was kind of the way I approached this as well, which is I want to make sure that I've got everything buttoned up before I start talking about it in the event that something happens. So I kept it very quiet. There wasn't really anything to say at that point. We weren't really announcing anything. We were building that out slowly, and then it really ramped up the second half of December. We were on a big time crunch there. And we launched it on January 1st, and so far the response has been way better than I thought it was going to be. I honestly expected catastrophic technical issues, and I've got such smart guys that are helping me out with that they made that process real easy, or as easy as it can be when you're doing something like that. So we had some issues,
so
but
this
we
is
got
going to
around
be
it.
the conduit through which everything you were just talking about with Whitney and your other partners. This is going to be the main conduit through which all that is published as well. Now,
It's not I mean, it's not necessarily officially the place, but
Hmm.
I'm going to post all of the content. It has its own section, Independent Media Alliance, that's being built out right now. And so yeah, it'll be a one-stop shop for everybody else's work. See, they all do their work and post it on their websites as well, so it's not like it's going to be the only place for it, but it's as far as like a magnet where you've got everything in one spot.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna have, everybody's work from that group, and there's 18 people, and it's like James Corbett and, I mean, uh, Catherine Austin Fitts, and, I mean, it's a all-star lineup.
it
So
really
it's
is.
gonna be fantastic information that's coming from there. And then, articles that I see out in the wild that look like they would be a good fit for activist post will go up. We have 8 categories there. One of them is solutions, because we've got to do that. We've got to provide people with solutions to these problems that we're talking about, or else what good is it to discuss it, right? So we're trying to do a little bit of everything. We're trying to educate people on empire and the economy and activism and tech and health and crypto, and there's a podcast section, and there's a solution section, and then
It
down at the bottom there's another place that says favorite podcast, and if somebody goes and clicks on that, they'll see your show is one of the first ones that pops up.
Well,
So
when you had mentioned it to me, and that was what you said, I'd like to have you on that favorite podcast section. I said, "Wow." I mean, well, that's I don't get I don't receive honors like that these days ever. So that's like winning a Tony Award for me. So thank you very much.
you're in
And
the daily category with a couple other really great shows. So yeah, I encourage people to, if you're running out of ideas, or you want to freshen up your podcast selection, go down and check out that link. And there's comedy, there's health, there's deep dives, and there's daily. And you can take a look and find some shows. You probably recognize most of them, but if you find one that you haven't seen, check it out. I promise you, it's there for a very good reason. Fantastic people behind them, behind the shows. So good place to go.
Well, I remember for the most part, I don't know how much how much original stuff was being published there over the years, but I remember it was a very reliable place to find well curated articles that were coming from all over the place, republishing, but really just amalgamations, just getting it all in one into one place. With your approach now too, with you knowing some pretty prolific writers, you being one yourself, I have to imagine that there's going to be at least a renewed interest in putting original, maybe not daily stuff, but regularly published stuff on there along with curated stuff.
For sure. We're actually going to do in the second half of the year, we're going to take it a step further and offer Activist Plus, which will be a premium service that'll be a place where we can feature content that's specific to activist posts written specifically for us by some of those writers. We can get roundtable discussions and interviews and real deep dives and talk about the topics that are a little bit more forbidden out there in the general public internet. Once you put it behind a wall, then you can kind of have those conversations. And so yeah, that's definitely a part of it. And we're going to be looking to pay the writers that contribute to that as well. I think that's the right thing to do. If you're contributing exclusive content to us, then we need to pay you, and people are paying us to get to it, then we need to pay you as well. So we're gonna have some fun with that. I've got some big ideas for that in the second half of the year. But first things first, we want to really nail the free component of it. Make sure that that's running well. That the articles are out there, that people start to hear about it and know about it. And again, a lot of people know about activist posts, but it just hasn't really been out in the forefront. It hasn't had a face to it. That's one of the things. And that was intentional by the previous owners. They didn't really want to be out there. And when we were talking about this turnover, one of the things that they were saying was like, it's going to be actually kind of nice that you are the face of it in a sense, because then you can go out and really kind of promote it and talk about it and
Yeah.
get the word out. He said, we never did that because we were always very anonymous about who we were. And so, and as a result, the growth of it sort of slowed. I said, well, you could have fooled me because everybody I know knows about it. They knew about it somehow. So they must have heard one way or another. But I'm thinking that this might, between the site redesign, a little bit more enthusiasm behind it now. I mean, whatever. You run a company for 15 years, it's impossible to keep that level of enthusiasm the entire time. So I understand where they are. I'm I'm shot out of a cannon with this. I'm ready to rock. And this is going to be such a fantastic platform for people to get information. And I asked the audience one thing. Please, if you find something on there that you like, just share it. I mean, that's the role that you play in this. We really need people. Obviously, the social media platforms are no help at all. We have 470,000 Facebook followers. I put a post up there yesterday. I got 2 likes. So I'm not going to be getting any help from social media. So
We got to
the
talk about.
readers
We
to
got
do
to talk.
that.
Well, you know, you never know. You never know. There's some changes coming to Facebook.
Oh yeah, I heard.
We got to
So I'm
talk.
here I go. I'm going to go hold my breath. In the
I
corner.
know we're going to read through that together in a little bit, but I think one of the last when as you talk about this, I think what keeps coming up for me is this one exchange that G. Edward Griffin and I had on this show. Been on a couple of times. I think it was the second time or the first time we were talking, and I was just asking about perspective over the years, how the entire marketplace for information has changed. Where you go throughout the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, the kind of information that you are going to be in the producing, that we all the content that we all consume and create every day, just so easy. I mean, it still takes consistency, it takes a lot of effort, but as far as the delivery methods, it's crazy compared to back in the day where you're going to flea markets and you're exchanging pamphlets with people, and you're sending $1.25 away to some P.O. box in Pasadena, hoping that you're going to get a newsletter back about 3 weeks later, and it's somebody talking about the Rockefellers and what's coming, Nelson Rockefeller's plot to take over the world and the CFR, and you just think about that, and it always made it so cozy. I can actually smell the pamphlets in my head. They're a little bit yellow already, a little musty, a little nutty, whatever the hell it is. And then you think about the evolution of alternative media and the internet, and that made it possible to reach audiences that go well outside the bounds of what someone like G. Edward Griffin were seeing every night, that he would be going to another book tour stop at a VFW somewhere in a little town or whatever, but that's where the interest was. And I just love how the virtual spaces that we are in right now just allow that to come back to life with such power, and without syndication of big platforms or a big parent company or anything like that. It's just I just really love it, and it's really cool. Like I said, it's one thing to go out there and buy a car. It's another thing to go out there and buy yourself a newspaper. So we definitely got to keep that up.
Yeah, it's a awesome responsibility when you feel that you're in charge of curating this information. It's like, wow, okay, well, what do I think is important for the people to know? What is it? I have to also remember what do I just assume people know, and what do they really need to know? I also have to make that differentiation too, because some of this stuff is like, oh yeah, I already know that stuff. Well, maybe the audience doesn't know this already too, so I have to keep my mind on that. But there's never been a better time to spread this subversive information as it is right now. It's great with the internet; you can do all of this, and it's only, and there's a real opportunity given what we've just gone through with the 4 years of COVID and the Biden administration and the just never ending lies of the mainstream media and the gaslighting. And I think that even the most dumbed down normie was, never even gave any of this stuff a second thought, has now been forced to kind of re-examine the relationship that they have with the media. And I think a lot of people are saying, I don't like this. I don't want this. I'm not interested. These people are lying to me. They hate my guts. And so I want information. I want news. And I'll make up my own opinion about how I feel about it. But is there a place where I can go and just get the information? No slant, no this, no that. Just show me what's out there, and I'll decide what I want to read and how I feel about it. And I think that with Activist Post, it's going to be an excellent place to draw away some of those normies who have been just sort of programmed to go to CNN.com or go to MSNBC.com or FoxNews.com or Gateway Pundit or wherever and get their news every day and go, yeah, I mean, I believe it. I don't know. It feels kind of slanted one way or the other. This story seems totally made up by the CIA or whatever. So I think that we're like a little, like an oasis for people that are looking for actual truth. They can come there. I mean, if anything is going to get censored on Activist Post, it's going to be censored by me. Do you think I'm going to be censoring anything? Absolutely not. You think I'm going to pull an article down because I got pressure from some? And there's no boss. There's no boss to say, can't post that article critical of Israel over there. You can't. I'll post whatever the fuck I want, whenever I want to post it.
You
right?
mean whether
So,
despite if it's in spite of whether it's positive or negative? I heard on Twitter, I just saw Elon Musk get dragged a little bit a couple of days ago because the news got around that they were going to favor more positive news stories and things like that, and anything that, and then of course that just comes up with the same old questions of, well, just like with hate speech, who gets to decide what is hateful speech, and who gets to decide what's positive, what's negative, what's I mean, isn't it possible that really important news, really important information may seem as not so flowery or happy, but still necessary to be able to have at your side if you're going to make a decision that could affect the future of yourself, your family, something like that. So it's really, what it is with me, Charlie? I'm at the point now where I just really want everybody to be able to stand and defend their position and just be what they are. I'm sure that there are people who would be on the opposite side of, or maybe they would see the same thing as Jason Burmis, but they would attribute it to different factors, and they wouldn't go and you can see it. As long as everybody's publishing something, I'm going to read around, and whatever makes most sense to me is going to win out. Because like you're saying there, it's really just the governing aspect of things is what we need to be able to break apart. When people are in positions where they feel they have to govern the information, it's one thing to see somebody go out and say, I'm reporting on a story and here's what I found. And you say, I think that's bullshit, and I think that they're missing a lot, and I'm going to report on the same story and kind of counter their points. It becomes a very necessary, activity right there, a necessary process of kind of like sharpening your knives. And especially if that's all being done, that dialectic is being played out in public, that benefits everybody who's actually getting different points of view with, what you would hope to be very, valid information. Perhaps the puzzle pieces are just being arranged separately. I don't care that people see the world differently and tend to lean in certain ways, but it's more so the governing aspect. Who gets to decide what's positive and negative? Who gets to decide what is mal information? Just are we adults or are we not? And is somebody committing a crime? Is there some kind of violation of non-aggression's principle going on here? Or is there fraud being committed? Is there harassment? Or is it just a difference in opinion and controversial conversations? I mean, that's really what it is. It's who governs all of this stuff.
Hate speech is just speech that they hate.
Mm.
It's a very slippery slope there. You can get lumped in there and said, well, this isn't hate speech. This is information. This is factual information. The writer can prove you may hate what he's saying, but that doesn't make it hate speech. By the way, there's no such thing as hate speech, but whatever.
Well, have you ever watched The Office?
Yeah.
Okay, so when Michael Scott has somebody takes a crap in his office, and it's like season 2 or 3. And they're cleaning up, they're cutting out the carpet. Somebody actually took a dump in his office on his floor. They're cutting out the carpet, and he's sitting at Jim's desk, and they're going on and on. He can't let it go because he doesn't know why someone did it to and all that. And he called it a hate crime. And Stanley says that's not a hate crime. He goes, well, I hated it. That's what? Somebody takes a crap on your lawn. Somebody takes a crap on your living room couch. Yeah, that's a hate crime in my book.
Yeah, isn't every murder a hate crime technically? I mean, you've taken it so far. I'm going to assume that you probably hate the person.
It's just not. There's not a lot of room for love there. But really exciting times. This is some of the news I really loved kicking off the new year. You want to read this very short Wall Street Journal article about what's going on at Facebook, since you are now an owner of a website that's in the publishing business? Okay,
Sure.
let's do this. All right, so let me get you up on screen with me. Here we go. Meta ends fact-checking on Facebook, Instagram in free speech pitch. Meta Platforms is ending fact-checking, which that was long since uncovered that many of the fact-checkers were actually so-called ex-CIA. Meta Platforms is ending fact-checking and removing restrictions on speech across Facebook, Instagram, and a move that Chief Executive Mark Zuckerberg said was an attempt to restore free expression on its platforms. We're going to get back, and Charlie, jump in whenever you want. We're going to get back to our roots, he says, and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. Go ahead.
You're going to go get back to your roots. You mean the In-Q-Tel roots? Is that what we're talking about? When you guys were financed by the CIA for LifeLog and then switched over in 2004? Is that those sort of roots? Because Facebook's roots have always been in the CIA. So I'm not quite sure what exactly he's talking about, getting back to our roots. You mean before the FBI moved into your office or after?
Yeah, it's probably that they want to be able to track the schizos out there so much, but all the people who don't use Facebook anymore and they're publishing on Telegram and wherever else they feel a little bit more at home there. Just probably wants to roll out the red carpet, get everybody to come back and start talking about their theories again a little bit more often. Anyway, he says, more specifically, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X starting in the US. The pivot came as Zuckerberg has looked to build ties with the incoming Trump administration. He mentioned Trump several times. I saw that 5-minute video. The day before Thanksgiving, the billionaire CEO dined with the president-elect on a patio at Trump's private Mar-a-Lago club. Meta has since donated $1 million to Trump's inaugural fund. The company on Monday said UFC President Dana White, a staunch supporter and ally of Trump, would be among 3 new members of its board of directors. So Dana White is going to be a board member at Facebook, at Meta.
Okay, so then we've got William Morris Endeavor, we've got IMG, UFC, which means we have Ari, aka Ari Gold. I don't know. I don't know if I love that combination of Hollywood blending in with Meta. I don't love that, especially with Ari Emanuel running that company that's tied to Dana, that owns UFC with Dana White. So
Yeah.
I feel very uncomfortable about this. I'm sure Zuck is just trying to play this like, oh, check me out. I'm just a mat bro, you know. I'm just doing jujitsu in my off time. I'm just like one of you fellow humans over there. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not buying this rebrand. You can grow your hair out all you want. You're still a lizard person to me, Zuck.
I saw that. He almost had like almost like Chucky hair a little bit. He's got these curls.
I'm a little envious, I'll be honest.
Yeah, well, whatever. You know, as long, I'm envious of anybody who had a hairline.
Me too.
But to hell with everybody. You know, all the crap that everybody, you have these billionaires who are transfusing the blood from their 16-year-old sons. I'm like, can somebody figure out male pattern baldness yet?
It's $1 trillion industry if you do.
Come on.
I mean, come on.
It's ridiculous. Who the hell are you, who are you hurting? Anyway, let's see here. Meta's move to remove restrictions on certain types of speech echoes the approach taken by Elon Musk after he bought X and then called it Twitter, so that like less suppression on controversial topics like immigration and, dare I say, gender. Musk, who has become the CEO closest to Trump and was a top financial backer during the campaign, has long pushed to promote free speech. Musk is criticized Zuckerberg's platforms for removing content seen to violate community standards. In December, he reposted a post accusing Meta's platforms of censoring conservative voices. So, speaking about Meta's attempts to weed out damaging or dangerous content, Zuckerberg said it has gone too far. He said, quote, "We've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship." That sounds like such a retarded thing
this
to
is
say.
The Rumsfeldian mistakes were made. Right? We don't want to live in the past. We're charting a course forward, Frank. I mean, yes, we were advised that the Hunter Biden laptop was going to be coming out, and yes, we were told it was fake, and yes, that was a tremendous lie that shifted the election in 2020. But mistakes were made, and we don't want to live in the past because we're not going to get anything done in the past. We're talking about the future, everybody. Let's forget that we censored, you know, guys like me for posting Sandy Hook memes that say, "No, that's how you destroy evidence," with a big bulldozed school there. You know, oh, I got put in Facebook jail for that, and then whacked like 3 more times during the course of the year for posts that I put up 2 years earlier. So they were retroactively going through my backlog to find things that they could use against me. But please tell me how you've changed your ways, Mark Zuckerberg. I'm very interested to know. Is this statement, did he release this statement from his subterranean lair in Hawaii, or was this done from the Bay Area?
I don't know. I don't know what that's behind it. This might be a kitchen, a strange kitchen. That's what, I don't know. This is the 5-minute thing I was watching. This one was retweeted by Robbie Starbuck, and he does go into like everything you're talking about there, Charlie. That there was political pressure from the current and exiting administration to censor and all that other stuff. Like, you know, my hands were tied, kind of thing. And you know, and going into and saying that there are sweeping cultural changes, because of course it's one thing to say, "Hey, we made a mistake, we got something wrong, I called an audible at the line and it was not the right call," but to say there were we made too many mistakes, and too many mistakes, no, that means that there was a culture of censorship at your company, and you were walking in lockstep with everything else. And listen, I know, Charlie, that with your crew. We have a lot of mutual friends. Especially with having Jason on this show so many times over the years now. I know that there's not a lot of love or excitement around the rising role and influence of Elon Musk in the culture and all that stuff. But you gotta admit that what little bit of contrast Musk has been able to add to the social media landscape, what little bit of contrast has been able to add has really taken, all the bike spokes just started popping off. I mean, you could see this is obviously a pathetic, groveling attempt to, try to realign in some kind of a way that people will start, differentiating you from, like you said, Google, Incutel, the rest of social media that used to walk in lockstep. I mean, Twitter was just like anything else, but now there's just a little bit different about Twitter than all the other platforms, and it's created such a contrast that people are talking like Zuckerberg over here now.
Yeah, he's forced to. I mean, he has to make a business decision here too. They can't continue to be, you know, blue sky because nobody's going there because they know that you get censored. So I think that they're making a calculation that if they want to keep this thing going, this advertising machine that they have that churns out billions and billions of dollars a quarter, they're going to need to keep people on there, not just bots. And the best way to do that is to convince them that they're not going to be censored. Now, I'll have to see it to believe it, of course, because I've never been anything but censored on there, shadow banned or limited or however they do it on both platforms. By the way, it has not gotten any better for me on X. I have not had my growth. I have not had the limiters taken off of me at all. So and you put up a good article, you get a porn bot that likes it, and that limits your reach, and then you're done. So
True.
we've seen this happening in the back end of our accounts on both platforms. It would be nice if they just took their foot off of our throats. I'm not asking for preferential treatment. I'm asking to not be suppressed, like most of us are on there. And if the information that we're putting out is so incorrect, then allow us to put it up there and then challenge it. But I don't think that that's the point. I think that what they want is a platform where you're not even allowed to have those conversations because those conversations are deemed to be dangerous to the state or to the current apparatus. And so they're the idea that Facebook is somehow going to shed their skin and turn into this new version of Meta that's like a free speech platform is preposterous and insane on its face. But I'd like to see him maybe have to do it if for no other reason than to keep his business alive, because I don't know anybody who's on Facebook anymore in a real way.
I don't.
They keep their account there, and maybe just because they check it every now and then. But in terms of like, oh, I'm going to have a Facebook account and then grow my business, and I'm going to or grow my show or grow my widget making company or anything. Well, maybe you will and maybe you won't. That's the problem. Like I said, I have 470,000 followers on activist posts. There's zero engagement. I might as well have 40. It's the same thing. So
I wouldn't be surprised if most of the followers in the activist post, what is it, a fan page?
Yeah.
Because I remember around 2010, 2011, and I think until like late 2011 is when the fan pages were at their maximum influence on Facebook. We made a fan page for of course our show, but we were making friends with these big fan pages that were all over the place, exposing the truth. We made friends with. That's how I actually met people like Bill Ottman for the first time, and actually, and got in with those crews and all that. We were in just talking about all
minds too.
Yeah. I mean,
on there, I posted something on there today. The same thing. I'm like trying to it's like a car that's been in the garage for a long time. Like you got to start it up and kind of get this thing warmed up again on the social media if you haven't been posting for a while.
They grow, but they used to grow like weeds. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised, especially the activist post that was founded around 2010. That was right in the middle of such fertile times right there, where if you had, these fan pages on Facebook would grow like weeds, and sometime around 2011, maybe early 12 is when you had to start. Oh, well, that's nice. You have 185,000 followers on your so-called fan page or whatever, people who voluntarily signed up to get your posts and interact with you. If you want to reach any significant portion of that 187,000 followers now, you have to pay us to boost your post. and then it all just started dying. I mean, we eventually, not too long afterwards, we like it abandoned all the fan pages because they were just hollowed out, and we moved on to other places. And I mean, that's just really what it is. It's. I mean, are we going to be able to go back to that? Are you suddenly going to have 500,000 people that you're going to be able to reach? How many of those 487,000 are even on Facebook anymore? You
How
know,
many of them were even real to begin with? I mean, I don't know. I don't
dude.
know what I don't know about that. It's just a number to me. Sounds good when you're telling somebody that you've got that many followers, but in actuality, it they're only as good as the algorithm settings. If you've been set to deboost, then you can have as many as you want. It's not gonna, you're screaming into the void. And unfortunately, that's how it's been set up. So as they say, freedom of speech, but not freedom of reach.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as that reach goes, too, I remember around 2009, 10 ish, 11, again, around there. I had a buddy of mine who really started making his ascent in his career. He was in, sports marketing, and he really made a great name for himself and all that. But of course, he's coming up on the social media end of things when it's starting to become the main way that people are starting to market their businesses. But he's working with gigantic brands, the Grammys, the Emmys, all the award shows, sports, Hollywood, you name it. And he was the first one to tell me. We were sitting down. I went to his house couple of months. I'd go by his house. We'd pack a hookah. We sit on his back porch, and we'd all just talk about what we're doing and just game plan and all that stuff. And when we were discussing what was new with us at the first studio and our talk shows and all that, and what we were trying to get ahead with Facebook and social media. Facebook was the place. As you know, we all had just a couple of years prior had just migrated from MySpace to Facebook. And he said to me right then, around 2010, Frank, don't spend $5 on boosting those posts. And I said, well, why? He says, well, because I'll tell you right now that they have click farms in Minnesota. They have click farms in North Africa and the Middle East. There are places they're using VPNs that they're going in and clicking on posts that people have paid for clicks, and it's not real people, and you're wasting most of your money. This is not a conspiracy theorist at all. He's just a guy who worked very, very intimately in the upper echelon of corporate life and marketing and all that stuff. And so you want to talk about the rise to the top? Boy, oh boy, it was that road was, who knows how many ways that road to fame was paved with in fraud, absolute fraud. And with the backing and the origin story, as you so eloquently put out there before for Facebook, the resources were not limited. That's for sure.
And also the origin story. I can't help but mention this when we're talking about how Facebook came about. Let me tell you, the Zuckerberg origin story, right? Freshman nerd in his dorm room in Harvard starts a transformational software company with stolen technology. It winds up turning into a multi-billionaire who winds up getting busted for um, for not racketeering, but anti-competitive behavior. Am I talking about Mark Zuckerberg, or am I talking about Bill Gates? Because they have the exact same identical origin story.
Mm.
You either start these companies in a garage in Palo Alto, like Apple, IBM, or Apple and Hewlett Packard and these and Google, or you start it as a freshman in your Harvard dorm room with stolen technology, like Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg with the Xerox PARC and the uh, Winklevoss twins technology slash InQtel's LifeLog program. So I mean, it's hard to take these guys seriously when they come out there talking about how they're looking out for humanity and they're really concerned about misinformation and disinformation. It's like your entire origin is disinformation. What are we talking about
Yeah.
here? I'm embarrassed on your behalf that you think that we're buying this story that you're going to be out here. You're a good guy. I fully expect Mark Zuckerberg to like wear a cowboy hat and like say, I just bought myself a ranch. I'm gonna look at me. I'm gonna film some videos of me shearing sheep out here I mean, it just seems he
wrestling,
seems like
wrestling,
Justin
jujitsu.
Trudeau of the tech world, like, hello, fellow American Indians, look at me with my, I mean, just he just is a chameleon, a non authentic human being who's pushing a technology that has been sold to us as this is a great way for you to stalk your high school girlfriend or keep in touch with your college buddies or have a social connection or whatever. But in the core and I think if you dig one layer deep, everyone says, but we really know it's an advertising platform. It's like, no, no, go another layer below that. It's an intel operation on
Mm.
top of that. Yes, you can make a lot of money selling the targeted ads to big brands that want to know exactly who they're, to really zero in on a customer. And I have been told by people in the computer world that when this was years ago, they were saying that Facebook was the greatest marketing platform they had ever seen because the ability to drill down into a profile of exactly what you want in a buyer or a potential buyer they have so much flexibility over that because Facebook knows so much about you, about who you are. I mean, part of that is what you put in there to begin with. Part of it is, what are the things that you like, and then it just follows your behavior over time. And it's really kind of just a social media version of your grocery store card. Swipe your grocery store card at checkout, and you get all the discounts on some of the products. Well, they need to manage your behavior. I mean, they need to see what you're buying, and that information is extremely valuable to get sold to the big food companies that want to know exactly how to target this marketing. So it's just the evolution of something like that. And I have a marketing degree. I don't see marketing inherently as evil, although Bill Hicks said, maybe rightly so, anyone in marketing should kill themselves. I do
Yeah.
remember that.
I
Thinking
love.
that was kind of funny
I
and
always
maybe
love that bit.
slightly appropriate. But at its core, it's like I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way to get you to buy this product. And Facebook has taken that to a new level. And if it were only that, and if it were only the advertising side of things, I could probably let it slide and say, well, they just built a better mousetrap. But the fact that it was created at its core to be an intel component of the CIA is something that I'm just unwilling to ever overlook because once CIA, always CIA, right?
Yeah. Yes. I mean that.
Yeah, Sean Ryan.
Okay. Well, I gotta ask you about that. I was gonna ask you about that. What a great segue. Talking about intel operations and all. I was just going to just be. Well, what do you think about January 1st, just in general? What do you think about New Year's Day? I was on my back most of the day. I'm hearing that there's people getting run over. I'm hearing that there's a cyber truck outside of a Trump hotel in Las Vegas. There's all. I said, oh, you know what? It'll be waiting for me after I emerge from my fever dream over here. So what did you think about January's start? Talking about psyops and follow the bouncing ball and all that stuff. Just encapsulating thoughts because I have a bigger question or a bigger topic I want to introduce on its back.
I thought it's Operation Gladio, America style, 2025. That's what I thought. And I'll tell you why I thought it. As soon as I saw the picture of the burning Cybertruck right next to the Trump logo, it was perfectly framed. I went, that's NATO. That's a NATO signature move. And then once you started to tie these back to the military bases and things like that, it went, no, this is I've seen this before. I haven't done this yet, but I would be willing to bet that if we were to gather about 1,000 pictures of the aftermath in New Orleans, we would find quite a few pictures of shoes on the ground, just shoes, because that's an Ole Damagard component that he has brought up. He did a great presentation in Mexico at an Acapulco in 2019 where he was talking about shoes and bicycles. Wherever you see those, it's like a calling card for these NATO hit squads that have been running these, as he described it, like a traveling rock show, like a traveling rock band going from NATO base to NATO base, pulling these operations. This has the hallmarks of it. As soon as I saw the perfectly framed picture, and again, it's Elon Musk is known for the Cybertruck. It's on fire, and it's right next to the Trump hotel logo, and they've been friends lately. And what do you think the chances are of that? And what sort of message does it send? So
Absolutely.
a reminder for those that don't know much about Operation Gladio. That was a program that was run by NATO in Europe in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, which was leave behind forces that were just domestic terrorist groups that would be used periodically to help shape public opinion when it came close to a vote somewhere.
And to suppress
They
suppress the spread of communist forces as well.
Right. That they were the leave behind force when America left Western Europe after World War II. They said, "Well, we're going to leave, but if the Soviets decide that they do want to take the rest of of Berlin and then continue westward and take France, then what we'll have is we'll have these like stay behind groups that will be able to kind of stall them until we can get all of our stuff back." Well, the Soviets never did advance any further, and these groups just sat around twiddling their thumbs, and they finally got to the point where NATO said, well, let's use them creatively to shape public opinion. So let's have them go into a grocery store in Belgium and shoot it up. Let's have them blow up a train station in Bologna. Let's have them do all of these domestic terrorist operations as part of what they call the strategy of tension. And so when I see something like this on January 1st, where there's a bunch of explosions and chaos and it seems a bit disjointed and it doesn't really feel like there's a point to it except to just make the headlines, that reminded me of the strategy of tension. And then again, when I saw the picture, it was like, this is straight out of like how they set these operations up. You know, you got to have the right angle and you got to have the video of the thing blowing up and you got to have this and you got to have that. And because you're selling a story, you know, you're selling a narrative of fear, a strategy of tension, and you want people to be on edge, and you want them especially to think that it's possible that this could happen just about anywhere. It's one thing if you see a guy get pushed in front of a train in New York in the subway station, people in the Midwest will go, well, that's New York for you. It's just dangerous there, right? But if somebody goes into a grocery store in Buffalo and shoots it up, then that makes you feel sort of like, well, if it could happen in Buffalo, it could happen in Omaha. You know, and that sort of creates this heaviness, and that is welcome back into office, Donald Trump. We see you. We're here too. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be with you for the 4 years or however long you're in office, and we're going to make your life difficult. And by the way, if you think of pulling out of NATO, the explosions will continue until morale improves.
You know, I just realized, Charlie, you are a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, I know. I'm a negative conspiracy theorist.
This is the worst kind. You're a very negative person. No. Right there. Let's start on that, because I was listening on Sunday night. I was listening to, you know, essentially everybody involved with that Sean Ryan podcast episode. They did a Twitter Spaces on Monday night. On Sunday night, I listened to maybe about 10 minutes of it. Just to see what was going on, just going through the you know, when was the email received? Was it a draft? The squiggly line of the misspelled letters, all that stuff. What you know, timelines, chronology, and just everybody trying to ask the questions that make sense of this thing. But I'll tell you, the one thing I took away from this, I said, I got to talk to somebody about this. And then I said, oh, perfect. Charlie's coming on. Nothing kills a conversation for me than everybody involved taking turns, multiple turns within a very short period of time to try to distance themselves from these things called conspiracies or conspiracy theories. Everybody with the disclaimers. And it was so hot with these guys on Sunday night. It's not a conspiracy. Like, what are you fucking talking? And here's the thing that gets me. There seems to be near universal agreement, or at least an unconscious one, that a conspiracy is a euphemism for a paranoid hallucination. And that a conspiracy theorist, of course, is someone who lives inside of that hallucination. And this always bothers me now more and more than ever before on a level that is much deeper than just grammatical. Okay, I'm not even just talking about grammar, because number one, like you had said before, when we're talking about intelligence operations, intelligence agencies who coined the term conspiracy theory. I mean, that's a conspiracy theory that's a conspiracy in and of itself, a conspiracy to encourage us to self-censor. And the chilling effect that it has had on many millions of Americans over the better part of the last 60 years, to the point where we have rethought the extent to which we exercise certain civil rights, is really incredible. But when you think about even deeper than that, knowing the origins of all this and how everybody's always just looking around and giving these disclaimers, why would you, even if you are going into a conversation and really care about the truth of the matter, why would you ever take time to, at the forefront, limit your future self from considering the validity of a conspiracy theory? Because I mean, I'm why would I prevent myself from considering humanity's default setting as a species, to bunch up into groups and to make plans, self-interested arrangements? Why would I ever off the bat say I'm never going to consider this one thing that is like it's like the greatest character trait of ours? And I don't understand it, but people do it non-stop, and it's really something else.
Ron Paul talks about the number of conspiracies happening within 5 mile radius of the White House on a daily basis. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy analyst. I'm not theorizing about potential conspiracies. I'm analyzing actual ones that have evidence to them. A conspiracy is just two or more people operating in secret to commit a crime. I would suggest that happens 1,000 times a day in Washington, D.C. I mean, it's the nature of the businesses to be involved in conspiracies. The theorizing, you have to hand it to them. They've done a masterful job of conflating the two, right? Of getting the general public to believe that if somebody were to slap that tag on you, conspiracy theorists, that they're one step away from fitting you in a straitjacket and putting you in a padded cell. But the truth is that there's conspiracies happening all the time. It's just, are you willing and able to take a look at them and see them for what they are? And every war that's been started has been started by a conspiracy. The banks that rule us were started through a conspiracy in 1913. The IRS was started through a conspiracy in 19. I mean, our we're built on conspiracies. The idea that the CIA would try to get you to not believe your lying eyes is quite a trick, though. And that, of course, preys on people's psychological need to be part of the herd, to not feel stupid, to not be ostracized, to not look like they're unhinged. And they've been able to do that over time to convince the general public that even questioning these rather nonsensical events somehow puts you in a position where you're going to be fitted for a tinfoil hat. And you know, if you listen to them, to Garrick Utley talking about a hijacker's passport was found blocks from the crime scene, if you can believe that. No, he couldn't believe he was saying that. He had to qualify it with, if you can believe that. It's the same as, you know, if I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but here's a conspiracy that we found that's actually real. Well, you're theorizing about a conspiracy. That doesn't make you a bad person. If you're theorizing about a made up conspiracy that you created in order to make somebody else look bad, then you're the bad guy.
No, the issue is
theorize about Antarctica. Go for it. I mean, what's the harm in that?
I know, and the issue with like the ID, for example, is that it's totally, I think, in my eyes, valid that people start coming up with theories as to how the ID got there, because there is no other legitimate. I mean, that's why we have the need to theorize. I mean, for example, propaganda. People say, "Oh, that's just propaganda." Well, most things are propaganda. I mean, you go to your homecoming rally in high school, and the bonfire and the you got the football team and the cheerleaders, and I mean that's all positive, good, community building propaganda. It's not, nobody's getting harmed by it, but then there is propaganda that is used to sell a number of things, war, whatever. But the whole thing here about conspiring. And, that's a conspiracy theory. To think that people aren't conspiring, even in like benign ways, is ridiculous. That's all we do. That's how economies flourish. I mean, that's just what we do, conspiring and coveting. But people bring self interest to different levels. That's the whole thing. Some people bring self interest to levels where the methods that they choose to get what they want, they require coercion, extortion, theft, fraud, manipulation. And if we're going to get to that point where considering that is outlandish and you're nuts and you're paranoid hallucination, then are we supposed to go back to pre-Valachi hearings over here where it was a conspiracy theory that the mafia exists? Is organized crime a paranoid hallucination? Or is it just the organizations that we're not, certain organizations we're not supposed to be talking about? It's just so silly at that point. And I can't stand the self-censorship because at this point, the media in my eyes is just so weak. This should be the jump off point where everybody's just proudly theorizing about what the real story may be, because we have no reason to trust any official channels.
Done. And there's a psychological factor that happens here as well. That people project their goodness onto these people that they see on television in Washington, D.C., like Lindsey Graham and Adam Schiff and guys like that. They go, well, I wouldn't do it, so therefore they wouldn't do it. Nobody would do that, right? No, you wouldn't do that because you're a good, decent person. Lindsey Graham would start a war with Iran tomorrow if he thought he could. So the idea that you think, oh, well, that's crazy that those people are conspiring. No, it would be crazy if you got plucked off your couch and you were sent in there to start conspiring. It's not crazy at all that those people are conspiring against you. They hate your guts.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that's paying attention has figured this out over the last couple of years. These people are most definitely conspiring. One of the key terms that I when I hear this, I just think conspiracy. It's when and I always hear somebody like Nancy Pelosi talking about it when she's sober enough to speak, but this is a threat to our democracy. And when they say our democracy, that means their democracy. It doesn't mean yours and mine. It doesn't mean like ours collectively as Americans. It means theirs in Washington, D.C. This is a threat to our democracy. When they say that to me, I just hear conspiracy, because their democracy is not what we have right now. That's not what we are. It's not what we want. They're doing something behind our backs, and it's evident in the way that they treat us. It's evident by the laws that they've passed. They've signed new laws. I think you and I've talked about this last year, where you're not allowed to say in the House of Representatives, in Congress, there's certain words that they've removed. You're not allowed to say mother, father, brother, son, aunt, uncle, grandpa, all the words that you use to describe a family are banned in Congress. You can't use those words anymore. Why that was some sort of priority is beyond me. So when somebody accuses me of being a conspiracy theorist because I'm noticing, I just don't know what to tell them. Well, look, here's what's going on. It's not theoretical. It's only theoretical to the extent that you choose not to go out and look for it, but it's actually happening. It's happening right in front of your eyes. And the conspiracy is that you've been blinded to it, that you've been convinced, you have been manipulated into thinking that just even asking the question is somehow disrespectful to the establishment. And in doing so, you're opening up the establishment to ridicule or harm. It's herd mentality. It's
Yeah.
you've drifted off from the herd with your conspiracy theory, and it's one thing that you've left us, and we're a bit angry that you've left us. But you also have to recognize, Frank, that by leaving us and going off on your own, you open us up to danger, because now you draw predators towards you, and if you're near us, then you draw predators towards us. So it gets into this weird psychological tactic where the group shuns you because you represent insecurity to them. You
Yeah.
represent danger to them. And so there's a lot going on here. And when the CIA designed the term conspiracy theorist, boy, I'll tell you what, sounds like they probably workshopped it at Tavistock. I would be my guess, to
No
make sure
doubt.
it was going to work properly, because they certainly did a great job with that. I mean, we have to stand in awe of the job that the CIA did with weaponizing that term and using that as a way to discredit and humiliate people who had the audacity to ask questions about stories that were nonsensical.
Yeah. I even think about little things there too, about practicality, because a lot of people be like, "Oh, it's not what you're talking about is not practical." That you know how many people it would require to pull off something what you're talking about. And I started thinking, well, I don't know. You think about the history of the syndicate over here in New York, how how, how massive organized crime was with the five families, and then you think, well, it's not small time crooks are the ones who are twisting arms of flower shop owners looking for protection money. That's small time bullshit. You think about New York City in particular in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. An enormous portion of New York City's infrastructure was overseen by this syndicate of families, and they had a skim on everything. And of course it wasn't about taking over everything and changing the government to be some kind of a whatever. They wanted everybody just to go about their lives, that slip into your routines, do your thing, and we're going to have our skim, and we're going to take care of the unions, and anybody who wants to pour concrete on this island is going to have to pay a premium, and that's it. I mean, we're talking about from the courts to police to every key union and local politician. People often dismiss a theory on the account about how hard it would be to manage a conspiracy so large. But when you think about it, New York City, I went and I checked it out a couple of days ago. I said, how many people lived in New York City in like 1965? And I chose 1965 because the RICO Act passed in 1970. And whereas, maybe the RICO Act racketeering is really something where maybe the mafia, La Cosa Nostra, lost a lot of its autonomy. I mean, there's definitely have been partners since World War II at least, and then during Prohibition, no doubt about it. That's when organized crime and the black market exploded. So there's always been a partnership there, especially when there was a war to be won. Lucky Luciano would tell you all about that. But in 1970 is where I really think that a lot of that autonomy, whatever autonomy there was, might have gone away, and it just all became one big organization. And so I looked at 1965 because it's 5 years before the good old days really ended for organized crime in New York. And there's about 7.8 million people and in New York City. And when you think that at the height of the power of La Cosa Nostra in New York, there was probably about maybe 2,500 made guys and associates there who were able to secure an industrial sized foothold on a city of 7.8 million people. Now, they weren't controlling the lives of 7.8 million people, but every turnstile that they came in contact with, absolutely. And then I started thinking that, okay, 2,500 people, maybe a little bit more. Still, you have control of most of a metropolis. Now, if you go to 2024 and you look at how many people make up the federal government, it's a little under 5 million, like 4.7 federal employees, right down to 544 elected officials. And you're telling me that 2,500 can control New York City of 7.8 million in around 1965? Well, then how few would you need to really control a federal government of 4.7 million in 2024? When most of that 4 million people are like letter carriers and military personnel who are already not autonomous in any way, shape, or form. They go where they're sent. Civilian employees. I mean, it's really not that hard. If you've got the money and you already have the influence, you don't need an army. You just, it's a small amount of people. It's not crazy.
So instead of starting a sixth crime family, mafia crime family, what you would start is an NGO, and you would fill that NGO with a bunch of very powerful people. And then at at your meetings, you would instruct those people to go out and get themselves installed in in positions of power throughout whatever industry your NGO is specific to. And then through there, you would control policy. So when people say you have to, oh, how it's such a huge conspiracy, you'd have to control everybody. No, you have to control key decision makers, and you would install them into these places because you would come out of some group, some NGO like United Nations or the World Health Organization, and come up, or World Economic Forum, just look what they've done by installing their leaders all over the place, Trudeau, and through what they've done in France and Australia and the UK. So their fingerprints are all over the place. It's like this grand conspiracy. Oh, it would take so many people would have to be in on it. No, not if you structure it correctly. Not if it's in a pyramid shape with a decision making core at the very top and the threat of violence associated with it. You can keep a lot of people quiet when you threaten to murder them. You can keep a lot of people quiet. I mean, I always point back to the press conference after Buzz Aldrin and those guys got back from the moon landing, right, where they're sitting at that table. Michael Collins looks like he wants to throw up, right? And like, whoa, this is how do you control these guys and get them to not spill the beans? I don't know. Maybe you pull them backstage, before you sign them up to NASA and say, listen, this is a one-way ticket. You talk, we kill everybody in your family. To think that that wouldn't happen is naive, because that happens in the mafia. And if you've read Whitney Webb's book, One Nation Under Blackmail, volumes one, the volume one part is the history of organized crime. And the real question you come out of that book is, what's the difference between organized crime and government? There isn't a difference. They're the same thing. It's just a matter of who works where. So the tactics that the mafia use to keep the circle tight, to keep people's mouths shut, is most definitely employed in government. And if you don't think so, well, what happened to Gary Webb?
Yeah.
What happened to all these
Well,
people, these whistleblowers that ran their mouth and then turned up packed in a bathtub? So this is what happens. You can keep a lot of things quieter than you might think through a variety of different threats. But also, if you're going to recruit people into these positions of power, you're not going to take guys like us who wouldn't go along with it, who would have to be forced into it. I mean, it works a lot better when you don't have to twist any arms. You have to sort of align yourself with people that are psychopathic in nature and see operations like this as something that they're very much into. I mean, nobody had to force Donald Rumsfeld to do the things that he wanted to do, right? This was he was living his best life doing all kinds of organized crime inside the government. Nobody had to threaten him. I suppose that, I mean, we joke that Lindsey Graham has probably been threatened, that he's probably got blackmail tapes on him, but I also believe that he probably doesn't need to be threatened. He probably is a full-blown enthusiast for Israel. Even that, yes, he's taken money, and yes, he's got plenty of skeletons in his closet, but also it goes back to that kind of Noam Chomsky interview where he's sitting across from that BBC journalist, and they're kind of going back and forth, and the journalist says, wait, you're saying that I don't believe the things that I say here at the BBC? And Chomsky says, no, what I'm saying is, if you believe something different, you wouldn't be sitting in that seat.
mm,
And so I think a lot of times with these people, the reason why the conspiracy is able to happen and people are able to keep their mouths shut is that you've got the so-called right people in that job. You've got the people in there who are going to keep their mouth shut, don't need to be told. And anyone who gets out of line is reminded that if you have a change of heart, you wind up either discredited or worse, and that
yeah.
happens quite a bit. So if the word gets out, people start to understand. If this might not be a calculation I want to make, where I don't need to be a hero. I don't want to talk about this because I want to, watch my family. I want to watch my kids grow up. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut. That's a calculation that I would say happens on a daily basis in
Oh
DC.
yeah, it's too big of a conspiracy. Someone would talk. Oh, people do talk, and they're fitted with cement shoes and thrown into the East River. Yeah, or they're absolutely eviscerated through lawfare or audits, ruined professionally. I mean, blackmail. I mean, there's all types. We see it all the time. That's
They know
just
what they know what ticks your box when they're bringing you into the organization. Are you somebody that wants power because you're an unhinged psychopath? Okay, fine, we'll give you that. Are you like money? You want to get rich? We got money. Do you like hot women? We can make that happen. You like young boys? We got young boys for you. Just ask the Franklin scandal. What you want, a tour of the White House at night? You want to do whatever you need, man. We'll make it happen. But we need to know what it is that you're into. And then we get that. We hold it over your head, and then you work for us now. And that information, depending on the variety of crimes you're committing, in some particular cases, if it's a crime against a child, there is no expiration date on that.
yeah,
They own you forever. So you also, it also helps for this process if you have compromised people that are in these positions to begin with, right? This is the reason why we throw our hands up and go, God, these politicians are so awful. You'd think there's 330 million people. You'd think you could get better people, more decent people that aren't pedophiles and alcoholics and liars. And it's like, no, no, they're there because they're pedophiles, alcoholics, and liars. They want that sort of person. We would assume that that's like that'll get you automatically disqualified from the job. It's like, no, no, no. That's a prerequisite of the job. You have to have a character flaw that is so massive that they can exploit it whenever they need to in the event that you get out of line. And people are surprised that that happens. But once they figure it out, they go, oh, yeah, that seems like something that maybe makes a little bit more sense. Now I understand why some guy said something that is completely disconnected from reality and something that it seemed like, remember when Mark Cuban was like enthusiastically supporting Kamala Harris and everyone's like, what kind of goods do they have on Mark Cuban all
Yeah.
of a sudden? You know what I mean? Like it was a little too enthusiastic for, nobody loves her that much, Mark.
Or on
So
or
you
on
get
the
the feeling there's something else.
or on the flip side, how short-lived the congressional career of Madison Cawthorn was after he talked
Oh
about
yeah.
the invitations that were thrown his way, and he got a bipartisan smackdown of denials and has shamed this boy. As you're talking about that all that stuff before about the quid pro quos and the blackmail and all that stuff, you had me smiling because I'm thinking about one of those opening scenes, The Godfather 2, between Michael and the senator in Las Vegas. He wants to get the gaming licenses together because the Corleone family is going to be moving all of their interests out there in Vegas, expanding the hotels and the whatever. And the senator's trying to play hardball with him. Like, I don't like your kind, and you're going to pay me $250,000 for the gaming licenses just because I don't like you. And well, shortly after that, it's a wonderful scene. It's a fantastic scene. And it's actually a scene that's really great where Michael kind of scoffs at him and says, don't we all come from the same hypocrisy. Don't think that your job is any different than mine, Senator. And the fact that he walked out of there thinking he had something on Michael, and Michael said, I'm not paying anything. You're giving me the license, but now I'm not paying anything. And shortly after that, of course, the senator woke up in his favorite hotel room next to his favorite prostitute, who is now dead. And of course, who shows up is Tom Homan saying, nobody knows this girl and we can help. And from there on, the senator played ball very, very kindly with the Corleones. And it's, I was thinking about that. The people who make up the conspiracy theory, they made that term a pejorative. They were also the ones that lied about the mafia's existence. When Joe Valachi came out in 1963, and the first one to go on the record and testify and say the structure of the family and all that stuff. He's the first one that put the La Cosa Nostra, put the name to it. This thing of ours. J. Edgar Hoover. I mean, he had denied that this was a thing. J. Edgar Hoover knew exactly what the structure of these families were, especially all from Chicago down to the East Coast during Prohibition. He knew all about them. But after Valachi testified, Hoover had to come up with some story to set the record straight. And these are the people, the types of people at least, who coined the phrase conspiracy theorist to use as a pejorative against us because we thought for ourselves and just see things for the radically crazy things that they are. And
there's a great part in Whitney's book when she's talking about this organized crime, and she's talking about J. Edgar Hoover and Roy Cohn. Roy Cohn was running sexual blackmail entrapment operations in New York with young boys to ensnare politicians and whatnot. He was running it out of the Plaza Hotel. This was the guy who was Trump's attorney. And J. Edgar Hoover, of course, knew this. And they had, there was a party one time at the hotel that Roy Cohn was throwing, and Hoover showed up dressed in drag to it. And the point of that was almost like, you know who I am, I know who you are. We have mutually assured destruction information on each other. Let's party. Like we're really not too different if you think about it. What we're doing, I'm running the FBI, you're running a blackmail entrapment operation. In another world, we might be best friends. And in fact, they had done so much investigation of each other that they sort of came to almost like a mutual respect of scumbaggery, that
Hmm.
I see what you're doing over there. It's like a nod. Uh, Nice job out there, player. I see you.
I see you.
And it's, that's the relationship between organized crime and government. It's like the Venn diagram overlaps considerably when you put those two together.
Oh yeah, and after Rico, after Gladio became pretty much self-sustaining, because when the more you read into Gladio, there's everything there. The element of the Vatican Bank, but also how all of this was funded through selling cocaine, crack, on heroin on the streets of the United States. I mean, this is where the drug crisis first came from, to be able to fund the secret wars that was throughout Europe at the time, supposedly to prevent the spread of communism after World War II. But after that, it's just it just exists to perpetuate its own existence, and
Yeah.
then it jumps into Asia. It jumps into South and Central America, Northern Africa, and of course now it's come home to roost in the United States, as you said in the opening tonight. And when you get all that together, there's really nothing that distinguishes the military-industrial complex, Washington D.C., the mafia, any of it, other than costumes and stereotypes. And boy, oh boy, I think we're just set up we're set up for one hell of a show now, Charlie. I'll tell you what.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's it. How about you tell us where you're going to be? I mean, tell us your broadcast schedule. And
Sure.
I know activistpost.com. We're getting all those URLs out. It'll be in the description of the episode. But let
Yeah.
everybody know what they need to know about Charlie Robinson's day to day.
Well, my day to day got increasingly more busy after this. I'm really sort of like I just hired an assistant yesterday. I kind of need one. I'm at that point now. So, um, my day to day is Macroaggressions goes out twice weekly. Once as a monologue on Wednesday, once as an interview on Sunday. You can check that out. I'm going to be hosting and emceeing Anarchapulco again in 2025. Here, I did it last year. It was a real treat for me. I got to interview David Icke remotely from the stage. I was on the stage. He was on the big screen behind me in front of the live audience.
Wow.
He's coming back again virtually, so I'll get to do that. I don't know if we're actually going to do an interview, but I hope we do. It was so much fun. It was a highlight of my life.
You
Like,
coming in, are you coming to New York in 25 at all?
maybe if I do, I'll come see you. I something tells me so I don't know. Something tells me I'm going to be quite busy. I'm optimistic about 2025, even in the face of all of the evidence of the chaos in the world. I still have a good feeling about it. I'm excited. I think that in some regards the spell has been broken for a lot of people. I think that they're starting to lift their heads up and say, I've been lied to for so long. I'm so tired of this. I just want to know what's out there. I want to know what's really going on. I hope people will take a look at Activist Post, bookmark it, and then just try it out for a week, see what you think. See if the articles appeal to you. You probably won't like every single one of them, but I'm telling you, there's got to be something in there, a couple articles a day that people are going to check out and really like. And if you like them, please share them. And if you're interested in connecting with me, macroaggressions.io is my website, or just go to Activist Post and check it out.
Well, I've already put the Activist Post back into my sources folder for the first time in quite a few years. But again, I'm so happy that such a well-known and cozy brand is in the hands of someone that I know and trust. So regardless of what is published there, whether I agree with it all or not, I know it's coming from a good place, from a man of good faith, and it's always great to have you hanging out with me, and I can't wait for the next time that we link up. So all the best to you, Charlie Robinson. Send my love to the family.
I will. Likewise. Take care, Frank.
All right, guys, there you go. Charlie has come and gone, and we got a half hour left. So let's go to the intro video that I can play. And after that 90 seconds, I'm going to take your calls, read through all your super chats. Let's fill up the last 29 minutes. We had a great guest. We had so many great topics, beautifully woven into each other. It all flowed. I feel very, very nice right now. So, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? Call in for some quick comments, and I'd love to take your call. That's going to be 914-200-0220. I'm sorry, 914-200-0269. 914-200-0269. We'll be right back.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out to press the like button. Thank you.
Now entering, quite frankly.
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 Quite frankly. Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly, guys.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
So everybody watch. Quite frankly. With Frank.
Are you?
All my sounds work. Bing, bong, bing, boom, bing, boom, 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 boom. All right, let's clean through these super chats real quick. Jay Britt says, great show tonight with Charlie Robinson. Thanks, Frank. P.S. I hate this show. I know, so do I. KD33. It's been a while, KD. How you been? Frank, do you think of any of that congestion pricing money will go toward fixing the potholes in this godforsaken city? Haha, who am I kidding? Happy New Year. Potholes? New York City is a pothole. You know, it's one of those things I always thought that to myself. I said, hey, can the potholes ever stop? And then, no, it's impossible. The traffic, the cars, it's just impossible. The asphalt just warps. It flakes apart. You lay down the asphalt for one street, and then by the time you're done paving it, the other side of the street is falling apart. You pave that, the other side of the street is falling apart. It's just volume. I used to think that all the time when we would go into the city as a child. Any reason we were going into the city, like, why is it always? It's not just like new buildings are going up. Why are the the scaffolding and everything is being constantly restored, and there's always lanes that are closed because there's construction, and like, what is this project going to end? I remember asking myself at such a young age, and then you realize, oh, the project is maintaining a major metropolis, maintaining a city where human beings live, millions of them. There is no end. There is no end. Well, we'll see what Tom Homan can do for us, because perhaps instead of 8 million, there'll be 6 million people there to. Please, Tom Homan is the only way that New York City can be pothole free in 4 years. We just need a couple of million less people in that city. I'm sure we can find a few. So, go ahead, Tom. Do your thing. All right, let's see. What do I have here? Thank you, KD, and thank you, Jay Brits. Over to Rumble. Let's see who our Rumble ranters are, and we have a couple. First one up is Real Drew Morgan, who says, hit the damned like button. Yes, please, ladies and gentlemen, if you are on Rumble, we have about 1,300 people watching there consistently. I think there's a little bit more before. There's only 190 likes. There should be at least 800 likes. 1,300 people? Just click the thumb button. You could help me. It would be almost as good as being a sponsor or giving me a tip for the night. You know, a couple of eyes, tickling the algorithm pink. If you're on YouTube especially, when the show is over, make sure to come back to the show to leave a comment. And I'll make sure I get in there more often and comment back and all that other stuff, because that's huge. The more people see the show because of that activity in the comment section, not the live chat. Live chat's its own thing. In the comment section, the likes, the shares, all that stuff, that means that there's better chance that more people will be suggested the show. What minuscule amount, I have no clue. But out of every 10, maybe one will become a sponsor. So just by your interaction, you help sponsor the show in some way, and you make my my job a little bit easier. All right, let's see. What else do we have? That was Real Morgan, Drew Morgan. Karma77 says, hey, Amber, Star Karma here from Alberta, Canada, listener for, I think, 8 years. I think Nikki was just talking about celebrating 10 years yesterday. Appreciate you, Frank, Lauren, Aurora, and the Frankly fam. I appreciate you all so much. Much love. I appreciate you, Karma. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the support. It means the world. Absolutely the world. Great show as usual. It kills me to think so many are naive and ignore the corruption that permeates our government. It's not so much ignorance. Maybe there is some naivete there. There's a lot of indifference, and there's just a lot of nobody knows. Just don't know. I guess ignorant. Just not knowing. But you know, if this last election told us anything, is that more and more people are seeing something is wrong, are feeling something is wrong, and it resulted in an election result that we got. That is a result of a lot of people who don't know nearly as much as what we've been curious about for the last however many decades, but are seeing everyday situations starting to be affected in ways that they've never had to experience before. In the grocery store, in the school systems, whatever the hell it is, they're seeing things that is alien to them and makes them very, very worried. And perhaps they can't articulate and they can't pinpoint where the origin is of it all is, but you know, it just takes something. Just take something. Robert Sarnes, thank you. He says, how about a nice pair of cans? Yes, send me them cans. Send me them heavies. Braves Piano, thank you. C. Blanche, Sean Joe, you guys sending all those cookies out there, you're the best. Doug Simmy, not my name, says, threat to our democracy means our power. Yes, threat to our business. Paulie9363 with a big old fleet. And NX17 says, thanks, Frank, and thanks, Charlie. Very interesting show. I appreciate you. Hey, what do you guys think about this? Trump says that we're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico, that we're going to be talking a Gulf of America. It's no longer going to be the Gulf of Mexico anymore. It's going to be the Gulf of America. What a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate, he said. And what do you Canadians think about the prospect of becoming the 51st state? I don't see that as anything but trolling, unless there is something serious about it. And the Greenland thing is coming up again. I'm not interested in American expansionism. I'm interested in America cleaning out its basement and its attic. That's all I care about. I don't care about, but nothing helps me about knowing that we added however millions of acres of frozen tundra 1,000 miles north of me. All I care about is my little backyard and whether or not I can grow cucumbers this year and not ruin the whole damn thing. You leave me to my trellis and I am fine. I don't care about Greenland. Just like I said, clean out the basement, clean out the attic, and secure the border, and let's get wise with our money again. Meaning, let's have money again. So I don't know about that. Canadians, if you woke up some morning in the near future and there was a referendum put on your in the election, you have to vote on a referendum that you become the 51st state. Would you be happy to be an American if that's the way it happened? Please, Canadians, comment after the show in the comment section and write in as well. I'd like to see that. Maybe I'll make that into a poll for tomorrow. Other than that, what else do I have here? I don't know. Let's take a call. 321, you're on the air. Who is this?
Hi, Frank. It's Patrick.
Patrick, how are you?
From Florida. But I'm calling on behalf of Ed and all of Nevada, in case he doesn't call.
No, that doesn't count.
Great show. Great guest. Congratulations on your Tony Award.
Thank you.
I think we should rename that to the Charlie Award.
The Charlie. Yes, I won a Charlie. I won my first Charlie today on January 7th, 2025.
I love the guy. I got to start following him. I agree. I love your conversation 1,000%. Everything you were talking about. And I'll say one more thing. Maybe, I don't care what, like General Flynn was always talking about, starts at your school board. You guys should start running, because if we're going to change this country, please, we need people like you with a little voice and a little bit of a following, or a lot of following, to actually run and lead this country into the future. You know what I mean? And that's all.
Well,
and the other thing is, Can I say something about Ed and the mall? I met my daughter's mother in a mall back in '84, and she had a great ass.
She had a great ass. Yeah, well, yeah, that's good.
That's all I got to say, brother.
All
Congratulations on your Charlie.
Well, thank you.
Cheers.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you. A couple of great comments there. First of all, Ed has got to get in touch with me on his own. It has to be the real Ed. Secondly, I tend to go where my heart leads me, and if I ever felt I have to run for something, I would not ignore it. I don't think that's going to happen. I think I'm exactly where I need to be, and I think that that with the time that I've spent on air already, and the impacts I've seen this show made in places, parts of the country where listeners have gone out and become parts of their local government. They've become city council members. They've become comptrollers. They've done one thing or another, and there's plenty there. There's plenty there for everybody. There's plenty there for everybody to do. This is something that I feel is I'm where I gotta be, and I'm not the type to ignore my gut, but I also don't think that mainstream political activity is where I'd want to be anyway. It just doesn't feel that way. Doesn't feel good. I don't know. The other people are better cut out for that. What's the other thing? And of course, congratulations on your baby mama's great ass. Okay. That is Patrick. You know, I took a look at this. Let me see if I can find some good spots in this. Consider this a return of the Quite Frankly bit. Things I like. Things that I like from Godfather 2. Let me see here. Part right there. I like you come out to this wonderful country, this clean country. First of all, there he is. Is the little person's interest really being met? Is he really considering you and I when he's going out there and telling the Don that he's going to pay $250,000 and 5% of the gross on all 4 hotels? I don't know if that's monthly or yearly, whatever the hell it is. It's whatever. He says, I despise your masquerade. And I think this is where Michael drops the line. Here.
The dishonest way you pose yourself and your whole fucking family.
By the way, this was Pacino's, this was the peak of the acting. This is before Screaming Pacino. And the acting that's done just like with the eyes alone is incredible, but still.
It applies to my family.
Yeah, so it says, I have an offer for you. It's nothing. Nothing. I'm not going to pay anything, and you're going to give me everything. So you go and watch that. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to watch Godfather 1 and 2 for Film Club in November. Then maybe we'll watch Eyes Wide Shut in December. But still, Film Club is going to be great this year. So good. I may have to reread the book as I'm watching these films, but there you have it. There you have it. What is the difference between the two? Especially today. I think Rico just destroyed all the competition. That's just really what it was. So, anyhow, okay. What do you got for me, ladies and gentlemen? What do you got? Let me see. One more click through. Two Dogs Mike D says Greenland, Canada is the 51st state. Jewish president of Mexico. Sounds like a North American Union. Not good. Yeah, I know. I just don't know what to make of it. I gotta start asking around. Say, hey, listen, how what is all this? Is this just about getting people upset? Because think about the people of Greenland just sitting around doing their thing. And they're just like, just for fun. People in the United States are talking about buying them. Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And I have no interest in it at all. Let's see here. One more call. 815, you're on the air. Go right ahead. What's going on, Dean?
Frank, what's up, brother?
Hey.
I want to reflect a little bit on Patrick's call there. First of all, you don't need to run for shit, Frank. You've done enough for your country with your show. I think your reach goes a lot further than you think. And, I'll just leave that there. And second of all, when someone comes to you and says, you should run for this, my reaction is really, I should. Why don't you? You're telling me that I can make a difference, what you have all these ideas, and why don't you run?
Hey,
I'll just leave that there. That's all I have to say about that call. But what were you going to say, Frank?
No, I was saying that's one of those things, man. There's something for everybody to do. And I know that I put myself out there every night, and I know a lot of people, especially people who show up and they're regulars. We all kind of see things at least similarly, maybe not exactly the same. So that's why I can see that someone in my position who's already being so public about things and can put words together on most nights. Say, hey, well, why don't you do this? I'm where I'm supposed to be. The real question is, how can people out there do a little bit more than they're doing and get them places to where it's supposed to be?
Think about maybe the people you've inspired to go and run for something. I just think you're right. You're where you need to be, and I think that you're making an impact that is a lot more important than being a school board member. That's my opinion. But outside of that, Frank, tomorrow morning, I'm gonna jump in my pickup and head your way so I can dance with you at the intermission.
Oh, okay. Well, that would have been great last night when I had no intermission video. But all my audio problems are all fixed over here, so no need, my friend.
Yeah, I tried to call in last night, I didn't get through, but
Yeah,
that's all I got, Frank, and I won't take up any more time.
No, I knew that you would show up. I knew that people like you would show up if I really needed the help, Dean. So thank you so much for that, and all the best to you. I know you got work early in the morning, but keep that pep in your step and have a good day. And we'll talk tomorrow night, I'm sure.
Frank, love you. Happy New Year to you, and Merry Christmas. Because I haven't talked to you and your family, and man, just keep pushing forward, man. You're doing great.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and thank you for the wonderful compliments. It really means a lot. It really does. We can take another call or two. Let me go check to see what's going on in the after hours tonight. That is not what I was looking for. This is. So for January 7th, Nick Shirley, this first one right here on quitefrankly.tv, Nick Shirley asking Canadians about becoming the 51st state. Oh, all right. I can't wait to see what they say. Critical drinker, Star Trek Discovery dies to thunderous apathy. Nobody cared. Judge Napolitano and Scott Ritter. What's next in Ukraine and Israel? That'll be interesting take. Let's see here. A Tory Says pick. Wow. John Carroll pulled out a Tori Says pick. Enjoy the show documentary. Man, I haven't seen anything from Tori in a long, long time. I hope she's well. Hope everybody's well. I don't know what anybody's doing. I don't pay attention to anything. I'm so up to my neck in things over here. So many more things to do. And so that's a blast from the past. Art Bell with Linda Moulton Howe in the late night. Fukushima, Bigfoot, and animal mutilations. So that was always Linda Moulton Howe's specialty. So that all begins at quitefrankly.tv when this show ends in just a couple of moments. And at some point, if you are subscribed to the Quite Frankly Twitch account, I might be live tonight. I don't know, maybe play a little Star Wars, maybe a little bit of Call of Duty, something like that. Mix it up with the people in the chat room, have a little fun. Just when the day is completely wrung out and has nothing left to be done. Just a little brain drain time. Okay. That's all I got for you. No need to do anything else at this point with 4 minutes left. By the time we're done with the end credits, so it's all over. So thank you guys and gals. Tomorrow night will be a good one. Like I said, we've got Matt Roski from Cultivate Elevate coming on. If it warms up at all, I'll be in Studio A. If not, I feel really comfy and cozy right here, right now. So there you have it. Be here, 7 o'clock. Share it with your friends. Become a sponsor of the show. A monthly sponsor of the show. It is huge. Whether it's Activist Post, whether it's any other show that you watch, any other article, the periodical that you read, if you watch it and read it often and you would feel like shit if it ever went away, support it. Support it. It takes so little to help people like me do what we do on bigger and bigger levels. It takes so little. So please become a sponsor. We are sending out all types of stuff. I'll tell you in a very specific January, a January special at some point. But for now, anybody who shows up as a sponsor, I'm still going to be sending out coins and Christmas cards. We still have a couple of left over and everything else. So there you have it. I hope you're all well. Take care of yourselves and have yourself a good night.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Starring Jay Britz and KD33. Thank you to Two Dogs, Mike D, and Jay Semo. And also, hold on, we have a few more. Karma77 and Real Drew Morgan. Those are all from the Rumble rants right there. I'm releasing the Scratchin' and also the D-Live Treasure Chest. Hello to all the few of you who've been watching on Kick. I hope that we can build up a little bit more momentum over there too. Have yourselves a wonderful night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
They sent me to a psychiatrist all morning. I took like 1,000,000 tests.
A psychiatrist?
Yeah, you know, because I got suspended and everything.
They sent you to a psychiatrist?
Yeah.
But that's crazy. That's all nonsense. That's nothing but a racket for the Jews.